Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, let's talk about Justice Democrats. Look, I've been somewhat back and forth on this. I think they're coming from a good place in regards to what they're trying to accomplish. That said, I do think there are weird ethical considerations with fusing a media organization with a political organization. I think that's a little weird to me. That being said, I think we have larger concerns, meaning Justice Democrats is the fastest thing moving. And the Democratic Party, for the most part, is trying to co-opt as many people as they possibly can to resume status quo. Nancy Pelosi's plan was let Trump be Trump. They're not changing anything. The progressives that you see out there trying to sheep herd people back into that party, they're not changing anything. That's purely optics. It's purely optics. There's no there. They're thinking that Trump is going to be so bad and that the Republicans are going to be so grotesque that America is going to look at it and recoil in horror. They may be right. They may be right. Now, mind you, that completely depends on Trump messing up, which means that if Trump doesn't necessarily mess up, they're losing those next elections. But in case he does, let's say he does, we're back to status quo. If Justice Democrats is the fastest thing moving, I would much prefer to deal with that issue than to deal with a status quo Democrat. So there's that. So I have advice. I actually do have advice. I don't know if anybody would ever see this in regards to Justice Democrats, but the advice is genuine. And I would make the case it's pretty damn good that it's self-serving, but it doesn't mean it's not true. Know thy enemy. Know thy enemy. What I mean is, stop trying to go back to the future. You guys are trying to still push through a new deal, FDR 2.0. But you need the context of FDR 1.0. FDR was coming out of the Great Depression. And for the most part, he passed a new deal. Jobs, Social Security, Medicare. The man was a lion. Not just being a lion, for the most part, they couldn't get him out of office. I think he ultimately died in office. He was elected like 3 times. At the end of all of his term, or at the end of, it was during a essay or something, it was some quote that he made, but he made this point of saying that his greatest achievement was saving capitalism. So effectively, the Justice Democrats are trying to save capitalism. I mean, the point I'm making is, FDR was a plutocrat. Those guys called him a traitor to his race, but they did not fully understand that capitalism was eating itself. And FDR had unionists, socialists, he had people on his heels that didn't just want another policy, they wanted to overhaul the entire system. Making those adjustments, making those concessions, saved the system itself, will save the model in which we're operating under. The point I'm making to Justice Democrats is you need to go beyond that. If you're going to be a leftist party, if you're going to be a true leftist party, then be a leftist party. Identify the problem. You guys up to this point have fervently believed or asserted that the problem is the campaign finance laws. That's slightly shallow thinking. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean what you're talking about is incentive structure. The incentive structure is created by the model. Your problem is capitalism. Your problem is not necessarily finance laws. I would wager that everything that's on your platform, in some degree, is addressing some issue of capitalism. I would almost guarantee it. Maybe at least 80%. At least the ones that I'm looking at now. The majority of them are focused on, for the most part, aspects of capitalism. You need to not arbitrarily just move to the left. You need to have a clear idea in mind on what you want to accomplish. If you can identify the problem, at the very least, the steps you take to fix the structural problems, the structural defects, will solve these issues organically. Right now, it's almost as if, look, my issue with your platform is not the items themselves. It's just, it doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't even address the issue. It doesn't even acknowledge the issue. For the most part, this is just a wish list. It's, I want healthcare. I want so-and-so. But you never actually address the reasons why we don't have those things. And not just why we don't have those things. What is the difficulty in getting those things? What's the hedge? What's the problem? What's the culprit? What's the thing that blocks all of this stuff? A different question. What's the thing that unraveled all those elements of the New Deal in the first place? Why do you have to do a New Deal? Why do you believe that putting in the New Deal 2.0 wouldn't necessarily get unraveled also? What I'm getting at is, if you can address the problem, if you can identify the problem, you can substantively take steps to undermine that problem. As you undermine that problem, you solve these issues. And again, I make the point that you solve these issues organically. So for instance, your leftist party. How do you deal with disruptive technologies? So let's say 5 years, you're in power. You've gone gangbusters. Everybody loves you. You're awesome. You're president. All the taxi workers have lost their jobs because all these companies, for the most part, have automated the cars. All the convenience stores, the people working there, all of them have lost their jobs. They've automated that process. You walk in, you walk out. They take the money from the credit card. What are you as a leftist party going to do to deal with that situation? Are you going to put in laws to prevent companies from automating their systems? For that matter, are you going to put in laws to prevent companies from exporting jobs? Are you just going to be that heavy-handed? Or are you going to try to push policy that addresses the issue, again, organically? Like, it's one thing to say that we want to do X, Y, Z. It's another thing to actually focus on the problem. The problem is capitalism. Address aspects of the issue itself in order to undermine the problem. If you want to deal with income inequality, what about worker co-ops? You need to be creative in the solutions you come up with and actually address the problem. This is kind of my point. All of these things are nice, but they're just a wish list. If I'm going to deal with... So let's take the first one. If I'm going to say, okay, automation. Companies have a vested interest in shipping jobs overseas, in pushing down wages, in eliminating jobs. They do this because, for the most part, they can push profit further to the top, and employees are expensive. Now, that's an identification of a problem. That's not arbitrarily moving to the left. That's me saying, okay, this is a problem. This is part of the model that's problematic. By identifying that, the first thought is, okay, how do I undermine that particular system? How do I fix that defect that's in the system? Worker co-ops are a clear and straightforward solution to that problem. Whether you want to use the government to give grants, to give loans, to give some kind of incentive, whatever, however you come up with a creative way of doing it, you incentivize people to start worker co-ops. It solves multiple problems. One, the workers themselves run that company. Meaning you don't have a situation where workers are fighting with management. Workers are the management. It's one democratically elected company at that point. There's nobody making $15 million at that company, meaning all of the people's wages are higher. Not just wages are higher, they have more freedom of being who they are. They take an aspect of the company. Also, do you really believe that people are going to ship their own jobs overseas? Worker co-ops addresses one of the problems of capitalism. It addresses it directly. Nothing in your platform does that. It sounds like your platform is going to be heavy-handed, which is kind of why I'm making this video of saying there are better ways to do this in a more organic way. You're not going to have anybody complain to you that, yeah, man, I didn't want this much control in my work environment. I didn't want my wages to be this high. Yeah, I prefer to have management breathing down my neck. You're not going to have anybody complain about that. That's a win-win scenario. A, you stabilize that particular society and the jobs in that society. B, you increase wages. C, you stop jobs from being exported. D, and my favorite, you eliminate the elite. In that process, you just eliminate the elites in that particular company, one of the main drivers of income inequality. This is my point. This is my point. If you identify the problem, the policies that you put in place will be sensible and not arbitrary. This is arbitrary. This is nice, but it's arbitrary. That's all I'm saying. I mean, even if you're going to talk about automation, automation is a reality. There is no law that you're going to put in place to tell a company that has a vested interest in automating that he is not going to automate. So as a leftist party, what are you going to do? I don't see anything in your platform that even addresses it, that even says anything about it. If you identify the problem, you say, okay, companies have a vested interest in getting rid of workers, meaning we're never going to have a situation where we have enough jobs for workers, meaning either your society has to live with poverty, desperate poverty that gets progressively worse as more and more companies essentially fire workers, or we need to get money into the hands of people who are at the bottom of that scale who's not working. Well, for that matter, who is working? It doesn't necessarily matter whether they're working or not. We need to get money to the bottom of the scale in order to keep the economy going. That's an identification of a problem. This is the only point I'm getting at. I'm not bashing your platform. Your platform is fine. I'm just making this point that you need to have an overarching objective. It can't just be random, and it can't be arbitrarily moving to the left. Identify the problem. Once you identify a problem, come up with this idea of a society that gets you there. Scoot to the left through one policy after another to A, undermine the problem, and B, get you to the society that you're looking for. It should be planned. It should be organized. It should be thought out. And everybody who comes under your banner of Justice Democrat should be towing that line. It should not be random. It should not be arbitrary. Your goal needs to be to go beyond just getting elected, because that's my point. If you guys are really going to do this, and you're really going to try to change the country, then focus on the actual problems in the country. Focus on the actual problems. Identify the actual problem. I'm not saying just make an argument against capitalism. I'm just saying make an argument against these aspects of capitalism. You just need to conceptually know that that's the problem. Your arguments that you make, if it's going to be geared towards workers, you need to make those arguments geared in a way that addresses specific defects. If you can show results, you have a hell of a better chance of staying in power. FDR died in office. He died in office for a reason. Those people loved him. The second point, and look, this thing about capitalism, it goes through all of it. Whether you're talking about environmental regulations, Fight for 15, all of these things are aspects of it. Their entire platform, for the most part, is an aspect of it. I'm making a point of acknowledging that it's an aspect of it. Acknowledge that that's your problem. Even if you don't do it overtly, at the very least, acknowledge it to yourselves and craft policy. This is not policy. This is just a wish list. That's all I'm saying. The second part, organize workers. Organize workers. Organize workers. You have a worker on the front. Go get that guy and organize that guy. Look, even if you get in power, we are to believe that your ethics and morality is going to be, the wall of Winterfell of sorts. You're going to be the thing holding back the night. Yeah, I don't want to trust that. I don't want to trust that. Part of the money that you get from donations and all should go towards paying people to organize workers. Walmart, Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, 7-Eleven, whatever. The majority of jobs in this country are service jobs. Those companies are making billions and those people are getting screwed. In many cases, in Walmart, I think it's like $100,000. It was like in Forbes magazine or something. That every place or every location that a Walmart is in has to pay like $100 and some thousand just in services because Walmart doesn't compensate the employees enough, meaning those people have to use government services to compensate for the wages they are not getting. Organize those people. Those people are being screwed. Those people do not have a voice. Those people are invisible in society. Be their voice. Be their advocate. Have those people come together. And look, whether they can form a union or not is irrelevant to me. Your goal is political alignment. You're trying to go from place to place to place and get these people aligned under one banner. Very specific policy objectives that they want to accomplish and that you're going to help them accomplish. But they need to be, you need a watchdog. This is the point I'm making. You need civilian oversight. Organizing workers and having these guys organized in that way, at the very least, puts oversight, not just on you, by the way. If one of your Justice Democrats loses, these people are still engaged in the political process. Your point in this, if you're hiring people to say, okay, I'm going to each of these places, I'm going to organize these people. The more people you organize, the more money you're going to end up getting. Not just the more money you end up getting, the more people you're going to have to exponentially go out and organize for your behalf. It's a win-win. It's a power multiplier. Dumping all of your money into campaigns and everything is nice, but ultimately, your strength here is the workers. Because if you're trying to create some integrity in the process, where, yes, we get somebody in office, and yes, that person is made or held to account, you need to have eyes on them. You need to have eyes on them. Organizing workers, at the very least, keeps eyes on them. And if those workers know that you're pushing for a universal basic income, mind you, these people are barely making ends meet. That is a life-changing aspect for them. They will support you. They will support you. All I'm saying is you can do it, but you have to do it right. And you need to show results in the things that you're doing. Organizing workers gets you there probably faster than anything else. Anything else. Think about having all these people all across the United States engaged in the political process. All of these people voting to some degree in unison, talking to their family members, their relatives, their friends, talking at work. And they're not doing it in this overly political way for the most part. It's post-partisan. It has nothing to do with identity politics or anything else. It's purely, let's do better with this particular economy. Let's focus on economics. That's my suggestion. Those are my two major suggestions. I mean, look, it could go further, but those are the two main things. It could work. You guys could take over the party. All I'm saying is if you take over the party, it needs to last. It can't be a situation where it just gets undone. Don't just go back to the 40s. Be creative in the solutions you come up with and attack actual problems. That's my point. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, like the video, share. Thank you.